Hey everybody, Fatman here, and I am not even going to attempt to try and mislead you on this one. Drake and Josh is a certified classic, and I absolutely love it to death. This show kicks ass. Created by Dan She's a Fighter Schneider for Nickelodeon, the series had a successful 4-season run from 2004 to 2007. Even spawning 2 films, the second of those officially concluding the series in 2008. Drake and Josh was a precursor to what was to come in a big way, as this was around the time that most television stations were shifting away from animation and gearing their focus towards sitcoms aimed at older kids and teens. There had been other attempts prior to Drake and Josh, of course. Hell, Nickelodeon itself had hits like Kenan and Kel, Clarissa Explains It All, and The Brothers Garcia. But Drake and Josh succeeded beyond a level that network executives thought possible for a teen sitcom. This simple show about 2 stepbrothers was often smashing Nickelodeon ratings records, and wasn't even too far off from competing with some primetime programs. The cultural impact it left behind is arguably bigger than any other teen sitcom. Drake and Josh stands the test of time better than most of its contemporaries. Most kids networks around this time were transitioning away from cartoons in order to bait a much less interested teenage audience, most notable among these being the Disney Channel. Drake and Josh walked so Hannah Montana, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and Wizards of Waverly Place could run. Now, I'm a big Disney fan, but I've always found their live-action sitcoms to be some of the most insufferable schlock on the planet. With the exception of bits and pieces of That's So Raven and Phil of the Future. No, I'm not kidding. Nickelodeon was susceptible to this as well, as the critical acclaim and high viewership of Drake and Josh caused network executives to view teen actors as pretty much walking dollar signs. Thus was born Zoe 101, Big Time Rush, and iCarly. For my money though, nothing hit the spot quite like Drake and Josh, and if I may be so bold, I think it's because none of these leads were as charming, relatable, or believable as Drake Bell and Josh Peck. These two have Abbott and Costello type synergy, and they are phenomenal all series long. Drake and Josh isn't only the best teen sitcom, but it far and away clears my top 10 favorite sitcoms of all time. Ha! Gay! The crown still belongs to Malcolm in the Middle for me personally, but I have as much joyous nostalgia for the former as I do for the latter. If you've been living under a rock, or hey, you're just unfamiliar, it is okay to have a life and not know about a Nickelodeon sitcom that aired over 2 decades ago. Drake and Josh follows Drake Parker and Josh Nichols, 2 boys who become stepbrothers, and man do the shenanigans ensue.
What? Did we just become best friends?
Yup!
You want to go do karate in the garage?
Yup!
There are many sitcom tropes and cliches found throughout the series, but I've always viewed Drake and Josh as a unique show. Not for the familiar scenarios that the characters find themselves in, but rather how these characters excel at approaching these situations. The rest of the main family is pretty fun as well. Miranda Cosgrove stars as younger sister Megan Parker, and I mean, come on. Has she ever actually been bad in anything? I truly don't believe so. And this is coming from somebody who cannot stand iCarly, and I can still acknowledge that she's phenomenal in this role. It's not too different here, as I kinda hate Megan as a character, but Cosgrove is delightfully evil. And it's crazy when you remember that she started filming this at 10 years old. She delivers every single time. Jonathan Goldstein as Walter Nichols and Nancy Sullivan as Audrey Parker, whose first name is actually not spoken a single time throughout the entire series, are terrific in their roles as well. They're not always given a ton to do, especially during the films, but whenever they do get a moment to shine, they usually deliver a pretty funny performance. The core family is pretty well written, and the chemistry between them is top notch, especially between the brothers. They're really believable and super authentic. There's a reason a bunch of almost 30-year-olds had a real-life meltdown when Josh didn't invite Drake to his wedding. Drake and Josh was one of the last teen sitcoms that I watched where it didn't feel phoned in. The performances were energetic and captivating, the humor was capable of being funny without pandering, and the writing was so much tighter than it needed to be. They put a lot of effort into this. For me, it was love at first watch, and that really hasn't changed over 20 years later since the show first aired. If you know, you know, and if you don't, you're about to find out. This is Drake and Josh. Before I forget, huge shout out to Reddit user Broccoli Chance for helping me out here. This show is a bit of a mess to track down, as some episodes have been completely nuked due to certain licensing issues, and it's incomplete and divvied up all over the place across streaming services. There currently doesn't exist a single way where you can watch the entire series, and had it not been for Broccoli Chance, I don't know that I would have been able to make this video, so much appreciated, my friend, and sorry if I have butchered your username. The first season of Drake and Josh is short and sweet, comprising only 6 episodes. But not only is every episode fantastic, it is immediately apparent that this show is going to be a success. That's not something that can be said for a lot of debut seasons. Usually, season 1 and sometimes even season 2 are spent ironing out how all of this is going to work and how these characters are going to act. But from the jump, I'd say Schneider and his team had a pretty good handle on this. I chalk it up to Bell, Peck, and Sullivan all being veterans of The Amanda Show, and Cosgrove coming in hot off the success of School of Rock. It's a little different when you're trying to sell a relatively unknown cast to a viewing audience, but many were already familiar and wanting to see more from these actors. The pilot episode sets the tone for the series beautifully. Josh is a wholesome dork, and Drake's such a dick. He's like a PG-rated Joey Tribbiani. They're immediately likable, and again, the chemistry between them is just top tier. I love the way it balances slapstick with the witty dialogue. There's a real danger to leaning too one way with a show like this, but Drake and Josh typically strikes a great balance. I never felt like there were too many cheap pie-in-the-face moments for kids, and yeah, the dialogue isn't some like multi-layered avant-garde art piece, but it's still crisp, well-timed, and it's usually pretty funny, and that's kind of all that matters for a show like this. There are multiple opportunities for the jokes to reach for the lowest hanging fruit, and yeah, well, it's not always super subversive. I never felt like I was being pandered to, even as an adult rewatching this show. This is bolstered by the perfectly on-point delivery. They know exactly when to lean in, exactly when to pull back, and they hit a bullseye 9 out of 10 times. I find the ending surprisingly wholesome too. Even though Drake technically gets Josh beat up, he does help him realize that he doesn't need to wear the Miss Nancy dress to give good advice. And it's a nice early indicator to the dichotomy of Drake's character. There are no bad episodes in the bunch, so much so that it even makes it a little difficult to talk about them. There's only so many times I can go, well, this one was good, and this one was good, and this one was good. They're all just great. Two Idiots and a Baby is a fun episode, and it's the first time that we see that the brothers not only work well together, but they're perfectly capable of handling the material on their own, which is a little detail that I appreciate. Josh is left to meander on his own for a little while, while Drake bails on the babysitting to go to a concert. And well, he can be a little hammy. I think Peck pulls this off perfectly on his own. Another detail that both Peck and Bell nail is that you immediately know who these two characters are. It eliminates all guesswork. Josh is the lovable, innocent dork, and he carries most of the physical comedy. Drake is the cool womanizer rock star. There's not a ton to unpack from them initially, but I do appreciate the consistency of each character. There are very, very few moments across Drake and Josh where the characters deviate and I'm left scratching my head wondering what the hell it is that they're doing. They're pretty true to themselves all series long. I am sad that the season finale Grammy is the only time across the series where we see the episode's namesake. Randy Heller is a total badass. I know that was short and sweet, but so is this season. Drake and Josh is a consistently funny and entertaining experience. To say any more would just be bloating the runtime. Due to the short length of the season, you're left not just wanting, but craving more. And there is a ton of promise for this series on the horizon. Man, does season 2 come out of the gate swinging. The bet is quintessential Drake and Josh. The boys make a bet to see who can outlast the other's addiction, Drake being addicted to junk food and Josh to video games. I admire their restraint in not giving Josh the junk food and going for the easy fat joke. This was the type of subversion that I was talking about earlier. Granted, it's not a metric ton to unpack, but it's just subtle enough. God, there are so many great gags this episode. I have legitimately been quoting these most of my life.
Games teach hand-eye coordination, which is why I now have cat-like reflexes.
Yeah, dead cat-like reflexes.
What's a game sphere?
Only the most sophisticated gaming experience ever created by humans, and it's spherical. Spherical!
It just doesn't relent. It's funny joke after funny joke. This is one of those episodes where you're laughing from start to finish, legit. The third episode of the season, Movie Job, introduces two of my favorite side characters in sitcom history. No, I am not exaggerating. Whenever I imagine what a benchmark great side character looks like for a sitcom, these are the two that come to mind. The first being Helen, the manager of the Premiere, a movie theater that Josh lands a job at. Yvette Nicole Brown is a damn national treasure. I am always amazed at how great she is every time she pops up in anything. She's feisty, rude, she's loud and belligerent, but she is also a total boss. The running gag of her hating Josh but being infatuated with Drake is literally never not funny. Next up, we meet Crazy Steve, who I actually cannot even think about without starting to laugh. It boggles my mind that Jerry Trainer isn't a bigger name in the world of comedy. Trainer has this manic Jim Carrey energy that just dominates whatever scene he's in. But he's never too over the top or annoying, as this character archetype often can be. Many of the biggest laughs of the series come from him, and that is a hill that I am willing to die on.
Excuse me, Josh.
What?
I notice you're stacking that candy in an angry way.
I am angry. Mindy's over there with her new boyfriend rubbing him right in my face.
Well, you know, I also struggle with an anger problem.
Oh.
Yes, but now I have this. See, whenever I get a little angry, I just give this a little squeeze. Don't drink while I'm talking! See how it works?
You are uninvited to my birthday party.
But, hey,
Whoa. I didn't know she was your girlfriend.
yeah, he didn't know she was your girlfriend?
You too, uninvited.
Excuse me. No yelling in the theater area.
Excuse me, where's the ladies' restaurant?
I am talking to people!
He's gonna give Drake a record deal?
He might, once he hears Drake's song.
It's time.
Oh!
You ate my enchilada!
It was so no!
You ate my enchilada!
No!
You ate my enchilada!
It's at this point that the series starts fleshing out its universe and introducing side characters, and I have to say, just about every single one is a hit. Even most of the one-off characters are so prominent that they're unforgettable. This is all aided by the fact that Drake and Josh themselves are really growing into their own, and the dynamic between the two is just getting better and better as we go. Josh is over the top in a fun way, but at the same time his naivete is starting to wane a little bit. Drake is still kind of a jerk, but he's starting to become a little more self-aware. And for every instance where his character might be infuriating, the moments where he does do the right thing are often well-timed and super impactful. Little Diva is an exemplary episode that really highlights how well the show can exaggerate scenarios without being so egregious that it becomes grating. A movie star named Ashley Blake has come to town, and Helen assigns Josh, and by extension Drake, to be her babysitter. Turns out the little angel is actually a demon, rivaling even Megan's evil, and holy crap, Skylar Samuels is absolutely fantastic here. You can just tell she's having a blast. Blake is like cartoony evil in this episode, and Samuels' performance is so snarky and ruthless. It really is incredible work. It shreds me that she spends half of the episode knocked out and literally getting stowed away in garbage cans, and none of the surrounding adults notice. This is a top tier episode as far as the visual gags go. It's probably the most ridiculous scenario featured on the show so far, but due props, this creative team knows how to write a completely bonkers situation and not only make it hilarious, but somehow believable. By the way, if anybody out there actually knows who Ethan LaRoche is, or if he's even a real person, an explanation would be highly appreciated. I spent a while searching and I just couldn't come up with anything. The series just keeps chugging along with hit after hit. Across these 14 episodes, it delivers consistently great stuff. Little known fact about me, but The Blues Brothers is in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. So imagine my delight when there's an entire episode pretty much just dedicated to them, and it's perfect. I have no notes. Driver's License is great as well. Walter gets some time to shine here, and I've always found the scene where he's teaching the boys to drive to be super endearing and hilarious. Goldstein's delivery when Megan gets involved is just top tier. It gets a great laugh out of me every time.
A good driver is always prepared for the unexpected.
Yeah, I know. I'm always telling Drake.
A little girl!
Why are the good always the first to go?
Nice going, Josh. You ran over your sister.
I'm sorry, that delivery brings me close to tears every time. Number one fan is another banger. I also really like that Josh's Oprah obsession kind of starts taking shape here. All of the child actors are really nailing it, and Alison Stoner as Wendy is nothing short of perfection. The scene where she's being super snarky to Drake's date is like the performance of a woman 3 times her age, and she is just delivering in spades here. This might be debatable, but Mean Teacher is like the Drake and Josh episode for me. This is not only like one of my top 5 picks, but generally this is one of the episodes I start first timers at if they've never watched the show before. There's no lack of context for anything, you won't feel like you're missing out, and it really is one of the funniest episodes of the series. Julia Duffy is a treat as Miss Hafer, and her outright unfiltered hatred of Drake is a running joke that will get me laughing every single time. This series it has great running gags too. Almost every one is a home run. The story revolves around Drake wanting to break up with his girlfriend Kelly, who has a interesting quirk. Props to Chelsea Brummett. It could not have been easy keeping a straight face while filming this. Drake discovers that Kelly is Miss Hafer's daughter, and is told that if he breaks her heart, he'll have to spend the summer in summer school, stuck between 2 goth baddies who want to grope him. Poor guy. The season closer, Honor Council, delivers yet another classic character in the shape of Mindy Crenshaw, who I had a huge crush on when I was first watching this at the age of 10, and who I still have a pretty big crush on now at the age of 30. Allison Scagliotti is so awesome. Do you know she's in a band now? Awesome. Anyway, Mindy is the perfect foil for Josh. She's smarter than he is, she's more cunning, and generally universally adored by the school faculty, making her a decent antagonist. She's so good that Megan actually offers to help Drake and Josh take her down, a series first. Random side note, I find it pretty adorable that Megan is revealed to have a partial soft spot for Drake in this episode, despite the hell she puts him and Josh through on a consistent basis. Pay attention to when Megan's website is loaded up to show everybody the humiliating video of Josh sleeping. You can see a link next to the video that says, "Listen to Drake's music." And in parentheses next to that, it says, "It's not bad." I don't know why, but I found that super endearing. Mindy attempts to frame Drake for a crime he didn't commit using Miss Hafer's hatred for him as a catalyst. The brothers and Megan eventually take her down, and that brings season 2 in for a landing. Needless to say, the series just gets better. They've demonstrated so much growth across these 14 episodes that some shows can't do in 40. They know exactly who their audience is and exactly what they want to see. They don't settle though. The series never becomes complacent with the fact that they have a good thing going. Whether through the performances, the writing, the comedy, the show is constantly growing and stays on an upwards trajectory going forward. Man, you want to talk about a legacy run? Look no further than the first 10 episodes of season 3. This is just hit after hit. If somebody made a top 10 episodes list and it was just the first 10 episodes of this season, I wouldn't fight them on it. The Drake and Josh Inn and Peruvian Puff Pepper are a fantastic 1-2 combo, and that's followed out by the knockout punch that is We're Married. We're Married is another one of those perfect introductory episodes for someone who's never seen the show. There's another force at play here, and that's that the series is starting to get slightly more mature. It's not a giant leap or anything. It stays in line with a lot of the previous humor, but there's an uptick in innuendos that lends itself well to the tone of the show. This was the point where the real life actors were growing and changing from adolescents into young adults, and that's reflected pretty well in the material that they're given to work with on the show. This joke being my absolute favorite example of some of the more risque humor.
I will say thank you the way we do in Udonia. Mwah! You like?
Yeah, maybe later I'll show you how we say you're welcome in America.
A Udonian lady frantically shouting, "You serve us goat balls?" is admittedly slightly less subtle, but it's up there as well. Mindy's back sees the return of Mindy, but has her admitting that she has feelings for Josh, and the two begin dating. These two are adorable together, and every scene they're in is dynamite. Josh initially keeps their relationship a secret from Drake, fearing that Drake will hate him for dating Mindy since Mindy had previously made Drake's life hell and does not like him. Drake's response to finding out the two were dating actually had me do a bit of a double take. It's a level of maturity previously unseen by his character, and I'm a big fan of him prioritizing Josh's happiness over his own ego, something that Drake Parker doesn't generally do. The affair, girl power, Helen's surgery, it's slam dunk episode after slam dunk episode. Then we finally arrive at the apex. Most fans' chalk pick for the best episode of the series, Foam Finger. I can't really add much to the conversation on this one. Everything you hear praised about this episode is true. The setup is perfect, the reveals are both hilarious and believable, and the resolution is spot on. There is perhaps nothing more quotable across the entire series than this line right here. And to this day, none of my brothers or I can say any variation of the phrase, "Are you calling me a liar?" without somebody echoing the Drake and Josh response.
You admit you made that whole story up. No, you started that fight.
You calling me a liar?
I ain't calling you a truther.
I'm so sorry to have to do this, but I think I'm finally going to need to complain about something. I don't like the episode Sheep Thrills. Yeah, the sheep are cute, but I think people are misremembering how annoying this episode is. To the show's credit, this doesn't happen very often, but this is one of those episodes that has no idea how to balance the physical humor with the dialogue, and it quickly devolves into a loud and obnoxious mess. Like, holy shit, is this episode loud. The slapstick is as good as it's ever been, but it has never been enough to carry this show. And all we're getting here is sight gags. It all just drags on and on into a monotonous mess. Especially the scene with Walter trapped under the hood of the car. Due to there being less of an emphasis on the dialogue, the pacing is negatively affected, and I just couldn't wait to see end credits on this one. I won't make the claim that the last third of the season falls apart or anything, but there are some chinks in the armor. The first 2/3 of the season are so strong that it would carry the entire series if this was the only Drake and Josh material that we got. Don't get me wrong, but there is a definite laziness that permeates the rest of the season, and that starts at Sheep Thrills. Theater Thug is the worst episode of Drake and Josh for me, hands down. Not only is it the worst episode of the series, but I actively hate this episode. For starters, there's basically one joke. Josh gets selected to star in an episode of a crime drama and plays a criminal known as the theater thug. For the rest of the episode, everybody just mistakes Josh for the real guy. He gets beat up several times, he gets arrested several times, and when Drake and Josh cross paths with the real criminal and manage to subdue him, the cops barge in and arrest Josh and leave the real criminal lying there. That's infuriating. And it's not funny in the slightest. It legitimately makes my blood boil. The entire episode is so repetitive. The joke falls flat on its face after the first usage. And worst of all, it's honestly just really mean-spirited. I understand that picking on Josh is a running gag, I do, but it doesn't work for me when literally everyone and everything is just constantly dumping on the poor guy. There needs to be some levity, even if it's for a single scene. It's just not enjoyable to watch Josh get bullied for an entire episode, ending with his arrest. Between Megan and Helen, the cracks about his pimple, the multiple beatings, and his arrest, it ceases to be entertaining and just borders on cruel. Sincerely, this episode. I have a slight issue with the alien invasion episode as well. Sick of being the victims of Megan's pranks, Drake and Josh decide to get revenge. They convince her that aliens are coming to the planet, and their efforts seem to succeed until the very end, when it's revealed that Megan knew what they were doing the entire time and was just playing the long con so she can pull the reverse prank on her brothers. Why? How come? Megan wins every time. Every single time. Drake and Josh don't get her a single time throughout the series. You couldn't let them get the win just this once? I'm sorry, but for me, the bitch little sister shtick gets old after a while. And that could have been easily remedied if Megan was outplayed at least a couple of times. Like, I know it's her thing. She's supposed to be that kind of omnipotent, I know what they're doing, I'm gonna get them. But like, is it entertaining every single time? It was a decent episode prior to that, but the end just kind of tanks it for me. I don't want to end this season on a negative note, so here are a couple of more points of praise for me. Little Sibling is far and away Drake's best moment as a brother. There are many moments across the series where he undercuts Josh or snipes an opportunity from him for his own benefit. But this time though, Drake sincerely backs off because he sees how much Josh and Sammy's relationship means to Josh. It's really wholesome and it's really humanizing. It's a big reason for why I can still root for Drake even though he's just kind of a most of the time. The Demonator can veer slightly towards the more annoying side of things for me. I'm just not a big fan of the Drake and Josh want to do something but keep getting sent back to the start scenario. But they do eventually get to ride the roller coaster, so it does work out. That and the back and forth between Craig, Eric, and Papa Nichols is a lot of fun. Craig and Eric, played by Alec Medlock and Scott Halberstadt respectively, are another set of fantastic side characters and the resident nerds of this universe. They also have this weird closeted gay couple energy, and it's good for a laugh every single time. On a completely unrelated note, Audrey looks so damn good in this episode. Mama Parker has definitely got it going on. I fully empathize with Gavin.
Hey, Drake.
What's up, Gavin?
Your mom's hot.
Dude!
How tall is she? Like 5'2", 5'10"?
I'll measure her later and let you know.
Did I say that I didn't want to end season 3 on a negative note? Because I lied. The finale, the Dr. Phyllis show, sucks. I don't put this squarely on Drake and Josh's shoulders. I have never been a fan of clip shows. They're generally useless and also pretty lazy. Especially in the age of streaming where you're most likely binging the series and the thing they're flashing back to is something you saw like an hour ago instead of a week ago, like when you had to watch these on cable TV. It's kind of amazing to me that despite not enjoying a chunk of this season, it's still a superb ride. I know I complained a lot towards the back half, but I don't want to understate just how strong I think the first half was. Even with the few bumps in the road, it's hard to top the standout episodes that this series delivers in its third season. Almost impossible, actually. So, I guess the question is, how did the fourth and final season fare? You think about the answer to that question while I review the first of 2 films that this series got, Drake and Josh Go Hollywood. I wanted to finish talking about season 3 first since this movie doesn't really connect to anything, but Drake and Josh Go Hollywood aired right in the middle of season 3, between Cheap Thrills and Megan's New Teacher. With how popular the series was, it wasn't a matter if, only when, and this film proved no exception, becoming the highest viewed program on cable in its week of release. Of the 2 films this series received, Drake and Josh Go Hollywood is typically regarded as the more preferential, and I disagree. For me, this film is sort of a nothing burger. We open with Josh struggling to write an essay on his greatest adventure, and Drake being fed up that his manager keeps booking subpar gigs for his band. Josh offers to take over the role of band manager, even managing to impress a record producer and get Drake's band a slot on MTV's Total Request Live. This setup is pretty basic, but it's apt for the duo. Drake gets a new band manager who can actually accomplish something, and Josh now has a topic for his essay. Megan announces that she's flying to Denver to visit a friend, and the boys accidentally put her on a plane to LA. Again, this sounds pretty basic and not super atypical of a standard episode plot. So, the question is, how do we elevate this to movie level? Well, one of 2 ways. Up the ante in a way organic to the characters and deliver a deluxe episode of the TV show, or come up with a super jarring, out of left field plotline that has absolutely nothing to do with the characters that we've gotten to know across 3 seasons of television. You wanna guess which one they went with? After boarding a plane to LA to retrieve Megan, Josh accidentally switches his geo, it's an MP3 player, with a wanted criminals geo. That geo happens to contain plans to counterfeit money that have been stolen from the US Treasury Department. Okay. And now we're in some adventure, comedy, crime, drama, thriller? What the f*** does this have to do with Drake and Josh? I use the term adventure comedy very loosely, by the way. The jokes themselves aren't really all that funny, and it's not much of an adventure because the boys spend a third of the movie tied up and bumbling around a random warehouse. The criminals discover that the geos have been switched and hunt down and kidnap Drake and Josh. This 25-minute section of the movie feels like it's been on for an hour. Megan eventually tracks them down and saves the day, and Drake is able to make the Total Request Live show right in the nick of time. Yeah, if you can guess by my tone, I'm really not a fan of this movie. For one thing, the plot is jarring and nonsensical. Honestly, really sit and think about it for a second. They dropped Drake and Josh into the middle of a criminal syndicate who had just finished ripping off the United States government, and I'm supposed to be taking this seriously? Yeah, you can argue that I'm not supposed to, but the film is taking itself this seriously. The criminals are laundering $500 million and plan to flee to Brazil, threatening to drown Drake and Josh before they do so. What am I even watching? This would be a bit more palatable if the film would pick a lane, but Drake and Josh Go Hollywood tries to have it both ways, and I'm sorry, but it suffers for that. On one hand, the jokes are constantly falling flat because the focus is on the slapstick, which is generally good. But when the backdrop to the slapstick is a crime drama, it just feels jarring. Think about it. Really think about it. Why would the characters in this movie, these supposed deadly big shot criminal, just allow Drake and Josh to bumble around and do their routine for them? There are multiple scenes of the boys escaping capture and then getting recaptured, and the criminals just sort of watch while Drake and Josh do their stand-up routines? I just can't fathom that these guys who have ripped off the United States government for $500 million don't just put an immediate stop to these asinine shenanigans. Not a single person has a gun handy? Not one? I'm not advocating for 2 teenage boys to get shot or beaten, But there has to be some kind of middle ground where at least one of these guys stands up while Drake and Josh are literally playing freaking patty cake and says something like, "Hey boss, maybe we should not let these weirdos do this. We should put a stop to this. They're an actual security risk." I promise, I'm not one of those people that needs real life logic applied to movies. I'm not one of those cinema sins, this is unrealistic type. I hate that stuff. But this is like a bit much, dude. I also don't like the framing device at all. Like, at all. The entire film is more geared towards Josh's perspective and tries to tie in this forced melancholy about Josh being a boring guy who's never had a real adventure. Like, dude, what are you talking about? At this point of the series alone, you've met Devin Malone of Zero Gravity, a world-famous rock star, attended a hotshot Hollywood party and met dozens of celebrities after being a huge celebrity's personal handler, made tons of money and been arrested for selling counterfeit Gary Coleman grills, ran an inn out of your home during spring break that got so wild it was featured on MTV, and so much more than that I'm not even naming. You've had plenty of adventures. The film tries to play that so straight. It even puts this disgustingly stupid, out of place, sappy background music during those scenes when he's talking about not having a real adventure. And my God, I can't do it. This isn't our introduction to the franchise. There are 3 seasons of television to prove the central focus of this movie wrong. And look, I get it. It's such an obvious attempt to capitalize on the success of the show, but it totally misses what makes the show so fun. The core of Drake and Josh is putting them in fairly normal circumstances that they completely blow out of proportion, and watching them hilariously deal with the fallout of that. Many of the scenarios are ridiculous, granted, but they're ridiculous in an over-the-top sitcom-y way. Drake and Josh Go Hollywood has no idea what it wants to be and no idea how to use these characters. That's probably why they don't even bother using any of the side characters, and even axe a chunk of the main cast to boot. The film doesn't know if it wants to be serious or funny, and it kinda winds up being neither. But my biggest issue of all, the most egregious out of any of this movie's sins, is that it's just not indicative of Drake and Josh at all. This could be anybody's story. Stick any duo from any schlocky mid-2000s sitcom in here and it works exactly the same. This could be Miley and Lily or Zach and Cody, and absolutely nothing would change. And for a property as unique as Drake and Josh, that's a damn shame to see. The only 2 things of consequence that happen are Josh becoming Drake's band manager, which holds for the rest of the series, and Drake getting offered a deal by Spin City Records. Though both of these things are reintroduced in the TV show, so honestly, you can just kind of skip this. I get why fans are nostalgic for it, I get why people like it, but honestly, it's just not for me. Drake and Josh Go Hollywood is one big missed opportunity. Is it a hot take to say that the 4th and final season is Drake and Josh's best? I'm actually legitimately asking, because this season for me is a slam dunk. I have very little to complain about for this final outing, and honest to God, this has about the same number of classic and essential episodes as the previous 2 seasons did. If I was slightly lazier, I would just copy and paste the opening from my season 3 critique here, because these first 10 episodes are a legacy run, and by first 10 episodes, I mean first 12. There are an abundance of riches to be found when combing through season 4, and I truly do believe that the best episodes found in this season could rival any of the best episodes of the other seasons. Josh runs into Oprah, Vicious Tiberius, and the wedding are all burned into my consciousness. I can recite damn near every single line from them and picture every scene in my mind's eye perfectly. Mindy Loves Josh gives me more of what I love with the Mindy and Josh romance, but also stabs me in the heart because at the end of the episode, they break up due to Josh's jealousy and paranoia. Drake, by the way, is absolute gold this episode. Every single guy has a friend exactly like them who has given them this level of terrible advice when dealing with women. I'll add too that the Josh and Mindy relationship has always felt beautifully adorable and authentic, and that translates very well into their breakup here. The science fair scene where they decide to break up is wonderfully acted, and really hammers home the emotion without feeling sappy. The Great Doheny is another super fun episode that follows the boys' attempt to bring a washed-up magician back to stardom. I hadn't seen this episode in a while, but dude, Doheny is such a prick. Don't get me wrong, he's still likable. Steve Tom is delivering a really energetic performance, but man, he is such an asshole. Across a single episode, Doheny traps an innocent girl inside a popcorn machine, makes Walter bald and refuses to change him back, and then proceeds to trick two teenage boys into thinking that they've committed murder. As a personal shot, he even echoes what most people say when they meet me.
I give you, Josh, you know, you're a delightfully awkward young man.
Aw, everybody says that. Here you go.
Thank you. Well,
the following episode, I Love Sushi, is a fun send-up to old school sitcoms, specifically I Love Lucy. It's an average episode for the most part, but it does contain a joke that, if you're watching this on Paramount Plus, you won't get to see as it's been edited out. I suppose I might as well address this now because it does happen again with a later episode. But look, here's the thing, folks. The mid-2000s, specifically 2006 when this episode originally aired, wasn't exactly a super conscious time for marginalized groups. This isn't an original thought, it's been said ad nauseum, but things that were okay 20 years ago aren't okay now. It's not even to say that this type of humor was ever really okay, but it was more accepted across mainstream media back then. Something played for laughs then could legitimately hurt someone now. And even if that wasn't the intention, well, some of the worst things have been done with the best intentions. It's not about saving face, it's about sparing feelings. And in that pursuit, some things just need to be cut when reevaluated for a modern viewing audience.
Wow, Fatman, I didn't know.
I'm not finished. I, however, think that is a load of absolute horseshit. And to me, this is one of the funniest jokes of the series, so I am proud to present it to you in its full, unedited glory.
Oh.
Roll it!
Oh, I can't believe it.
I know, I gotta kiss someone.
What was that for?
I won a contest.
Yay.
Oh, I can't believe it.
I know, I gotta kiss someone.
What was that for?
I won a contest.
Yay.
I won a contest.
Congratulations, man.
I wasn't chewing gum.
The Storm is an all-time classic, and this is coming from somebody who really cannot stand Queen. Shoving nearly all of the side characters in a room together works wonders. Their chemistry is fantastic, and the line deliveries and jokes work so well off each other. Paramount Plus also edits a scene out of this episode in which Drake Parker squirts his white liquid into his drummer's face. Do with that sentence what you will.
Oh my.
My view on the season as a whole may not be a hot take, but I know that I'm about to catch an L for this take because I kinda hate the treehouse episode. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong, the entire "where's the door hole" exchange is chef's kiss, and it's great meme fodder. And this episode also contains one of the most iconic lines of the series.
Package for Josh Nichols.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Don't tell me what to do.
But Megan is insufferable in this episode. I already talked about the lack of balance with the character because she literally always wins, but she's legitimately cruel here. It's one thing to prank Drake and Josh. It's one thing to cause a short burst of physical pain. But she's borderline psychotic here, and it's just unenjoyable. The studio audience is chuckling away while she traps two people in a claustrophobic hellscape, and then proceeds to actually starve them. Dude, lock this psychopath up. In sharp contrast to that, Josh is Done is a perfect episode. After Drake causes Josh to miss an important exam at school, Josh decides that rather than be mad at Drake, he's completely done with him. This is so cathartic to watch because all series long, we've watched Drake push the boundary of what is and isn't okay. Josh, being the lovable goofball that he is, has mostly just rolled with it. To see Josh finally take a stand and be done with Drake's toxicity is wonderful. And it coincides well with the glow up that both the character and the real life actor have gotten. Josh just doesn't fit the overweight dork archetype anymore. There's been a transition from adolescence to awareness. And I love that the show outlines in this episode what's been clear all along. While Drake is definitely the cooler character, he's the one that most people would be if given a choice. He needs Josh way more than Josh needs him. And Josh's life is inarguably better without Drake in it. The ending scene, starting from when Drake confronts Josh in the classroom, is a thing of beauty, and maybe the best performance from Belle across the series. I love that this resolves in an organic way. There's no cliche reunion, neither party is apologetic and trying to rekindle their relationship. Josh silently observes that Drake has actually learned a lesson, and literally picks up where they left off with the ping pong game. What a subtle and a roundabout way to resolve this conflict. It's a great way to tie it all back together. The rest of the series just continuously hits the nail on the head, episode after episode without fail. Eric punches Drake is a well-crafted episode, and it's nice to see Drake get humbled, and I always enjoy seeing more of Craig and Eric. Josh and Mindy also rekindle their relationship in this episode, something that's always going to be a win for me. Steered Straight is an exceedingly funny episode that's absolutely mutilated on Paramount Plus. Please do not watch this episode on there. Most jokes with Walter in the dress are altered or removed, and the punchline involving Taylor is ruined due to the cuts. I find it pretty ironic that they'll go to this length to remove jokes that may be perceived as offensive, yet still leave the shows themselves available for viewing, considering the creator behind them was embroiled in several controversies surrounding his sexualization of underage girls. Don't get me wrong, I'm still glad that people can watch Drake and Josh and the other Schneider shows, which have developed a pretty solid and hardcore fan base. I just find the double standards to be partly hilarious and partly stupid. Megan's First Kiss is a fantastic episode, and it provides the further context that I wish was given to her character more often in the series. For really the first time in the series, we get to see that she does have a genuine love and care for both of her brothers. And I wish she was given these types of moments more than once or twice. I know I've picked a lot on Megan as a character, and I do appreciate what she brings to the show. I like the performance, and right, I've picked on the shtick, but ultimately it serves a good purpose in the context of Drake and Josh. I just wish she was a little more fleshed out and a little less one-dimensional. We near the last 3 episodes of the season, and because Nickelodeon has to Nickelodeon, they pull a Jimmy Neutron and air them all out of order. If you've seen that video, you remember how well that went over with me. Really Big Shrimp serves as the series finale, but was aired before Helicopter and Dance Contest, with the latter technically being the final new episode of Drake and Josh aired. To touch on them briefly, Helicopter is a classic, and Dance Contest is a fun episode that has an amazing callback at the end, probably my favorite of the series. And then we finally arrive at the beginning of the end. Really Big Shrimp serves as the finale proper of Drake and Josh and sent the boys off in style in August of 2007. I adore this special, and I adore this as a finale. The events of Drake and Josh Go Hollywood finally seem to bear some sort of consequence, as record producer Alan Krim of Spin City Records arrives at the premiere to watch Drake perform his new song. Impressed by the performance, Krim offers Drake a record deal, and the boys head to the label to meet head honcho Nick Mateo. They strike a deal to record Drake's new song, intending to air it during a commercial during the Super Bowl. Krim then drafts a contract for Josh to sign, and Josh, distracted by some literal real big shrimp, they are called prawns, neglects to actually read the contract and signs away all creative control of Drake's music. I will say that Josh not reading the contract because he's distracted by shrimp is buffoonery that's a little excessive by Josh standards. This feels like more of a Drake move, but the role reversal is pretty fun and it does serve a narrative purpose. Krim returns a few days later with a finished version of Drake's song, which has been absolutely butchered, and Drake, furious with the final version, fires Josh. There's some pretty on-the-nose dialogue about record producers and record labels manipulating their clients' artistic integrity for monetary gain, but I do enjoy it. The special isn't saying anything new per se, but considering Drake is a legit recording artist in real life, this is probably drawing from actual personal experience, and the commentary is appreciated. Meanwhile, Helen is planning her wedding at the premiere with the help of Craig, Eric, and newly appointed assistant manager, Mindy. Really Big Shrimp does an excellent job of utilizing its side characters, probably the best this show has ever done with this. They're all part of the action. Everybody has a role to play and everybody is playing those roles to perfection, delivering in both their comedic timing and their excellent line delivery. This special even manages to give us one last fantastic side character, that being Helen's grandmother Lula, played by Thea Vidal. Every single word out of this woman's mouth is hilarious. All hail Queen Lula.
For a sweet old lady.
Where's the bathroom?
Did you just break our door in?
I rang the doorbell. I waited 25 seconds. Nobody came. What was I supposed to do?
Maybe ring the bell again.
Who's the boy with the big head? Look like a toothpick with a cantaloupe on top.
Random side note, but I love the visual gag of the movie titles on the theater marquee. 4 Great Seasons being a reference to Drake and Josh's run, and Now She's Carly, referencing Schneider's next project, iCarly, which also starred Miranda Cosgrove. Josh manages to rectify his mistake and switches the label version of Drake's song with the original version of the song when a spokesperson comes to pick up the disc. Drake's song airs unedited during the Super Bowl, and the boys are elated until they receive a phone call summoning them to Spin City Records. Mateo informs them that tampering with the song was an illegal breach of their contract and could carry huge fines as well as potential jail time. However, Mateo then reveals that the Spin City Records website was crashed this morning by over 30,000 fan emails requesting to buy Drake's song, proclaiming that Drake may indeed have a #1 hit on his hands. Mateo praises the boys for sticking to their guns, fires Krim for tampering with the original song, and offers Drake a legitimate contract that Josh claims he'll read this time. Everyone then gathers at the premiere for Helen's wedding, which goes horribly wrong as Craig sets the theater on fire. Helen threatens to plug in his 4K, which doesn't sound like a threat, but her delivery on it is just gorgeous. Everyone settles down after Josh gives a beautifully poetic speech. Helen gets married in the parking lot. Josh and Mindy get back together. That's what I'm talking about. And Crazy Steve and Lula proceed to dance the night away. Why do they work so well together? This is such a sweet and wholesome ending, and it's exactly the one that this series deserves. No one gets put down, the boys each get a rightfully deserved win, and it's overall just such a great way to close a simple but unique show. The writing and comedic aspects found here are also some of the series' best. It's a little dramatic without going too overboard, and yeah, the resolution may be a bit too tidy, but you know what? It's earned it. It really has. I've grown so attached to these characters because they've been developed so well over the course of the show that I don't want any cliffhangers. I don't want to see any twists and turns. I legitimately just want to see them succeed without the caveat of them suffering in some way, shape, or form, which was often a running gag for the ends of episodes where Drake and Josh generally came out unharmed. This is just a pure win with no strings attached. They're not undercut by Megan, there's no gotcha rug pull at the end. It's just a purely happy ending. It's also super adorable to me that the last shot of Drake and Josh is a sketch of them fighting over shrimp pulled from the Amanda Show, which, if you didn't know, was the sketch that originally prompted Nickelodeon executives to give the boys their own series. Like many properties though, the end wasn't really the end, and a little over a year later, Drake and Josh returned for one final adventure. For realsies this time. On December 5th, 2008, Drake and Josh returned for what would ultimately be the actual series finale. The film smashed network ratings and attracted a little over 9 million viewers, becoming the highest rated premiere for a Nickelodeon TV movie, a record that it still holds to this day. Take that, I Go to Japan. Fan consensus though is pretty mixed. Not only do I prefer this to Drake and Josh Go Hollywood, but I genuinely think that Merry Christmas Drake and Josh is a heartwarming, comedic, entertaining, and all-around good time. For one thing, the plotline and setting are way more indicative of Drake and Josh. These characters in this universe aren't that complicated. You don't need to muddy the waters with some over-the-top story, and the Christmas setting pairs with that perfectly. As a result, it's better paced, more streamlined, and far less cluttered. Drake and Josh Go Hollywood often felt like it was tripping over itself trying to stack one plot point on top of the other. This film is a much more consistent effort. There's an immediate benefit from this film featuring most of the expanded cast as well. Crazy Steve gets a bunch of time to shine. Helen has a lot of really funny dialogue. I love that she's already divorced, even though this takes place like 5 weeks after Really Big Shrimp, and she seems to be completely unaffected by it. Audrey and Walter are still kind of thrown to the side, but they're at least on screen every once in a while. And we even get to see Mindy a couple of times, which, you know, is gonna be a win from me. The side characters are so well written and fleshed out, and this movie benefits from letting them participate and play to their strengths. It feels a lot less isolated than Drake and Josh Go Hollywood did. My biggest and really only issue with this movie is the beginning setup that serves as a catalyst to kickstart the plot. The film opens with Drake getting ready to host a concert party on the rooftop of the premiere, now newly located at the mall. Helen agrees on the condition that he play the mall Santa, and while fleeing from a horny stage 5 clinger, Drake, dressed as Santa, runs into a little girl named Mary Alice. That's Bailey Madison as Mary Alice, by the way, and while I've never specifically been wowed with any of her performances, she has been enjoyable in everything that I've seen her in. At the end of the day, I can't really say that she's put out a bad performance. She's also, like, 9 years old here, and she does more than a passable job as Mary Alice. She's honestly the heart of the movie. Anyway, Drake makes a vague Christmas promise to give Mary Alice and her foster family the best Christmas ever. None of this is what I have an issue with, by the way. My issue starts a scene later during the actual concert. After some random hooligans start causing problems at Drake's show, the police arrive and intervene and then go on to abuse and arrest Josh. You gotta be f***ing kidding me. They're pulling a theater thug. This is insanity. Not only is this a retread of my least favorite joke from the series' worst episode, but the cops are so insanely stupid here. They're beyond sitcom dumb. They're can't chew gum and walk at the same time dumb. I understand why Josh needs to go to jail. I understand the narrative implications, but come on! I just can't and won't ever find entertainment value in Josh being pointlessly abused and bullied. Thankfully though, this is remedied by just how funny the payoff is. I don't think I've sat down and watched this movie in full since its original premiere, so I had completely forgotten that Josh's cellmate is Kimbo Slice, aka Bludge. Every interaction between these two is gold. I love that Bludge is this crazed lunatic whose claim to fame in the big house is beating people to within an inch of their life, and Josh is able to pacify and befriend him with a simple magic trick that's so consistent with his character. The scene where Bludge is pretending to beat the crap out of Josh is legitimately laugh out loud funny. This much alleviates the prior scene, and the entire scenario is made about 5 times funnier when Drake arrives to break Josh out of jail, but then winds up getting arrested himself. The boys head to trial with Judge Henry Winkler, another delightfully random cameo. Defense attorney Helen arrives and informs the judge of Drake's Christmas promise to Mary Alice. The judge agrees to let the boys go in order to fulfill their promise, but threatens to throw them back in jail if Mary Alice and her foster family do not unanimously agree to vote that this was indeed their best Christmas ever. The other caveat being that Drake and Josh are forbidden to tell Mary Alice and her family about the vote that will keep them out of jail. On a side note, I find it ridiculously funny that everybody in this universe has the knowledge and accepts that you just can't break a Christmas promise. It's like law. Even the bailiff interrupts the trial to make sure that the judge knows you can't break a Christmas promise. This is fantastic. God, this movie is legitimately so damn funny. If you're wondering why I prefer this over Drake and Josh Go Hollywood, it's all outlined in the first 15 minutes of this film. The stakes are established clearly and well. We move from one hilarious scene to the next, and this situation 100% absolutely feels like something Drake and Josh would rope themselves into. I can't stress enough just how much heavy lifting is done by implementing the side characters and the overall simplicity of the tone of the movie. It's a much welcome change from the last film. The boys meet their caseworker, Perry Gilbert, who is just the worst type of dickhead. Throughout the film, he makes several attempts to sabotage Drake and Josh in an attempt to land them back in jail because he's a total Grinch about everything and anything Christmas. Megan aids the boys in distracting Officer Gilbert, and Drake and Josh finally sit down to meet Mary Alice's foster family. Dare I say it, the child actors are all really good in this. In addition to Mary Alice, we have the constantly brawling twins Violet and Lily, the G-rated Chris Rock Trey, angsty teenager Luke, and Ziegfeld, who's far and away the funniest family member and who's just described as foreign. That's brilliant. A common criticism of this film is that the plot from here on out is pretty predictable, and yeah, I can't really argue against that. You know that Drake and Josh are going to embark on a journey with these kids to find the true meaning of Christmas. You know that they're eventually going to start winning everybody in the family over, including Luke, who starts displaying emotion for the first time in God knows how long. You know that Drake and Josh are going to start to legitimately care for these kids and are going to commit to doing this good deed for them whether they go to jail or not. You know that the family is going to somehow find out that this is all court ordered and they're going to feel betrayed, even though Drake and Josh are going to take the, well, that may have been how it started, but that's not how we feel now point of view. To be 100% fair, yes, all of that does happen. Yes, it is very cliche, but it does subvert expectations in the way that these cliches are utilized. Cliches aren't always necessarily a bad thing in films and television, even though they have a negative connotation. Hell, I'd argue that sometimes you need them. And with a Christmas movie aimed at families, you're gonna have plenty of them. But, just like the series, the film finds a unique way to utilize these cliches that's consistent with the TV show's style. Simple but unique is the unofficial Drake and Josh mantra. Hell, we've seen this exact series dozens of times. But Drake and Josh's strength came from the memorable way that it always managed to shake up the genre. And look, It's no exception here. I'm defending all of this while anybody who's seen a single video of mine knows how much I absolutely loathe the liar reveal trope. They know it's my least favorite trope in all of media, and this film, the climax of this film, kinda skirts the edge of that. That's how you know I'm trying to be as objective as possible, because it's actively featuring something that I kinda hate, and I still love it anyways. So much of this is remedied in the reaction of the characters, namely Drake. Even after Mary Alice's family finds out about the court order, Drake refuses to give up. When Josh questions why he's still doing this, he asks Drake, why? There is no way that these kids are gonna vote that they had the best Christmas ever. We are definitely going back to jail. Drake responds with, because I made a Christmas promise. That is such a beautiful way to tie the entire theme of this movie back together. Josh even then points out that Drake breaks promises all the time, to which Drake responds, yeah, well, I'm keeping this one. This is all true. Drake has rarely ever done a single thing for the benefit of another person. If there's nothing in it for him, he's usually not on board. Even after failing, even after accepting that he's going to jail, he's still committed, showing that Drake has forged an actual bond with Mary Alice and her family. Drake's offered so much character growth in the closing moments of this franchise, and the payoff is so worth it. It's one thing to feature cliches and use them just because other media properties do. Merry Christmas, Drake and Josh not only found a way to pay them off in a way that provides character growth that's jarring from the character that we've known all these years, but they managed to still make it feel organic. It doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't feel like something that Drake would never do. We've seen this instinct in him all along. He just usually caves to his other character traits of selfishness. He has an ego. The fact that Drake Parker, of all characters, is able to bury that here for basically a bunch of strangers is phenomenal character work. And all of that was spearheaded by typical cliches that they turned on their heads and made atypical. I gotta respect that. The kids themselves also don't remain standoffish. They do recognize the effort that Drake and Josh are putting into still committing to give them a good Christmas. This all even coming off the heels of Luke specifically telling them that he's gonna be voting no and sending their asses back to jail. The liar reveal betrayal trope is solved in a single scene. It's not dominating the third act and bogging down the otherwise excellent pacing. For that, I can't not give it credit. Even the way the vote and the court order is revealed is pretty funny, as Officer Gilbert realizes that he can't do it himself as he's the boys' caseworker, so he tricks Crazy Steve into doing it. Look man, I don't know what else to tell you. The cliches and the predictability just don't bother me when it's all being done this well. You may have been able to predict the whys, but nobody saw the hows coming. Sprinkled throughout all that plot stuff is some really fun material that just pays homage to everything Drake and Josh was always about. Fair warning, I am an absolute shameless slut for Christmas, so maybe I'm being a little biased, but the 12 Days of Christmas performance is honestly epic and a great musical centerpiece. I love that that's what starts convincing Luke to trust Drake and Josh, and it's made even better when he scoops up Mary Alice and they both go and join in the song. The duality presented in the way that Drake and Josh each attempt to give the kids the best Christmas ever too. Come on, it's perfect. Of course Drake is thinking gifts and parties and concerts. Of course Josh is reading them a book on the history of Christmas trees and teaching them how to bake Christmas cookies. I especially love the way the boys handle Officer Gilbert. They track down Gilbert's mom and discover the reason of why he hates Christmas so much. And good God, this is one of the funniest scenes in the franchise. I was crying actual tears from laughing so hard. Maybe it's just the decades of brain rot, but I don't know. This really got me. I won't spoil the specifics for those who haven't seen it because I just really need you to see it for yourselves. But it's the way the scene is shot, the way they play with the shadows. It's so egregiously over the top. It's so unnecessarily violent. This literally had me wheezing. I don't know, dude. This is a great scene. Finally, we have the ending scene, which fittingly ties all the former cliches and tropes together very well. Might even say with a little bow. This is why the cliches in this movie worked so well for me. It's bolstered by how well they nail the closing scenes. Yeah, it's a little hokey, but so is any good Christmas movie. Mary Alice's family votes yes on the best Christmas ever. Officer Gilbert has a change of heart on the holiday season. Audrey, Walter, and Mindy all make it back home for Christmas. And come on, Bludge even shows up to deliver presents and hook up with Helen. I'm a big fan of this, and it's not just for the holiday hokiness, but it just does have that authentic Drake and Josh feel to it. It's even pointed out by Luke, but Drake and Josh didn't do anything they promised to do. They kinda screwed everything up. In their attempt at fixing things, they accidentally demolish an entire neighborhood, shoot up Mary Alice's house with shards of ice, and then land themselves in bed with mild concussions. That's not the typical Christmas ending, but I love it because even though it's not the typical ending, it plays true to the oddity of the show. It plays true to that uniqueness I've been harping on about. It plays true to that subtle subversion I've been harping on about. It's perfectly imperfect, and I love that for it. At the end of the day, it says way more about somebody putting in the effort and recognizing that their heart is truly into doing a good deed. More so than the fact that Drake and Josh caused literally thousands of dollars worth of property damage. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Did I have fun the literal entire runtime? Absolutely. It may not be some grand spectacle to end the series, but it doesn't need to be. That's not, nor has that ever been what this show is about. And honestly, if we never get another Drake and Josh project ever again, I'm more than fine with this being the swan song. It's not a film that reinvents the way people make movies. It's not even a film that reinvents the way people make Christmas movies. It's just a buffet of all your favorite things about Christmas on one dish. It winds down the series well, and speaking of winding things down, I really don't have too much more to say. Drake and Josh is one of those lightning in a bottle shows. It's partly a show that could stand on its own merit, and partly a show you kinda had to grow up with. It kickstarted this trend of a lot of these similar shows that, in my opinion, were just never able to stack up. And I can't even fault them for that because Drake and Josh just aces the assignment. Peck and Bell are two of the best leads you could possibly ask for. It's eerie how representative each one of them is of their in-show counterpart. The line between actor and character can and does get blurry. This goes toe-to-toe with any adult sitcom for me. And you would be hard-pressed to find anything even half as energized as this show airing on TV today. Drake and Josh could be lowbrow without pandering. It could make you laugh without constantly having to go for the low-hanging fruit. The classic sitcom Three Stooges influence could be felt without ever specifically needing to be explained, because this series is just genuinely that well crafted. It never has to decide between making you laugh, being engaging, or having a heartfelt moment. It just does all three. At the end of the day, at least for me, Drake and Josh is a modern day masterpiece. Masterpiece! Well, thank you guys so much for watching. That was Drake and Josh. I don't know, for me, it's just always been one of those shows where I've always loved it. Like from the day I watched it till now, I just never get tired of it. It's one of those I'll always sit down and watch if it's on. I love it. Hope you guys love it too. This video is actually, even though it was a later idea of mine, it got requested quite a bit. I know it was another long one, so I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Let me know what you thought of the series, specifically the movie. I can't really find that much people talking about Merry Christmas, Drake and Josh, so I'd love to hear some secondary opinions. And again, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit that stupid little bell on your way out. Tell your friends about us, share us around. We got the Matt in the chair who does a great job with the shorts. Got my buddy Dave who's just taken a knee on doing anything lately, but he's a great editor and we keep nagging him to do comics and stuff. And then of course I do the retrospectives, which, speaking of, I know this is about the point where I give a hint for the next one, but for the first time I actually kind of have no idea what video I'm gonna do next, so.
I know what you can do next, Fat Man.
You do, huh?
Yeah, there's a video of yours that's been doing really well lately.
I know the one. I know the one.
It did have a spin-off recently.
I know it had a spin-off. Ugh. This is gonna take so long. Do I have to?
I really don't care, honestly.
Well, you can't say that after putting the idea in my head, so join me next time where I'm gonna be talking for a lot of hours about a very popular spin-off. Fair warning, this took a lot out of me last time, so this is gonna take a while this time. I've been Fat Man for ZeitgeistOG. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Most kids' networks around this time... Sorry, one more time. As the critical acclaim and high viewership of Drake and Josh... Sorry, one more time. Two boys who find them... One more time, sorry. The performances were Ugh, one more time. But they're perfectly... I am sad that the season finale Grammy is the only episode where we see... One more time, sorry. Whenever I imagine what a good benchmark... Sorry, one more time. That was a weak-ass clap.
It'll pick up. You get that, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
I can't really add much to the conversation with everything. Sorry, one more time. And to this day, no... Sorry, one more time. And worst of... And Drake being fed up that his manager keeps One more time. That geo happens to contain plans to counterfeit money that have been stolen from the U.S. Department of Treasury. That said that all f***ed up. One more time. The criminals are laundering $500 million and plan to flee to Brazil. Ugh, Brazil. One more time, sorry. Mindy Loves Josh gives me... What the hell was that? One more time. Steered Straight is an excellent... One more time. I love that Bludge is... One more time, sorry. The stakes are established One more time. Throughout the film, he makes several attempts to sabotage... One more time, sorry. Throughout the film, he makes several attempts to sabotage Jesus, one more time. Sprinkled throughout all that... Sorry, one more time. Sprinkled throughout all that...